Joining me now is Wyoming Senator John Barrasso. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. So, first off, what was your reaction to the presser yesterday with Vladimir Putin?
Well, let me be very clear. Vladimir Putin is not our friend. He is an adversary. He has proven that through his actions. He has said that his goal is to restore the former Soviet Union. We know that he has meddled in the United States elections. We know he's invaded Ukraine, and we know that he has been cheating on the nuclear weapons actions. So there's a lot to be said about the bad things that Putin has done, and I think there's a lot to be said about the strong things that President Trump has done with arming Ukraine, with the sanctions against Russia, the punishing sanctions, with more money for military and more money from NATO, plus expelling Russians from the United States and putting in Poland the Patriot missiles that we know can be used against Russia if needed.
Senator, you don't have to look far to see criticism on both sides of the aisle this morning on President Trump and responding to the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. Some saying he was just too nice. Was he?
Well, the question is, where do we go from here? Where do we go with the issue of the nuclear weapons as the president, as President talked about dealing with Vladimir Putin in regards to North Korea? I want to see what the deliverables are, because after the START treaty, what we know is that we gave away the store. Russia had to make no concessions. The United States made a lot under President Obama. I'm going to see where we go from here after the meetings yesterday. But let me be very clear. Vladimir Putin is not our friend. He's an adversary, and he did meddle in the elections in the United States.
But again, some of the criticism, most of the criticism, obviously from the left and even on your side of the aisle, Senator, was that the president did not come out tough enough against Putin. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think the president was very tough on Putin in the 4-hour closed-door meeting. I have no concerns about that whatsoever. There was a press conference afterwards where people wanted to talk about things that unify, why people would meet together. That's the reason to have a meeting. So I think the president should have met with Putin, should have had the discussions. I just want to make it clear that in the closed-door meetings, I'm expecting the president did point out to Putin that he was involved, did meddle in the 2016 elections, and that there really was no punishing response. There should have been, and if they do the same thing in 2018, there will be a punishing response to that sort of Russian meddling. But Russia's been meddling in elections, not just in the United States. Putin has been trying to undermine democracy around the world. We've seen it in France, in England, in Germany. That's the kind of person he is, and I believe he can't be trusted.
Can Putin be helpful to this president on the North Korea situation, as the president suggested in that clip there?
Well, I think he can be, because North Korea with a nuclear weapon makes anyone in the world less safe and less stable and less secure. So, yes, I think he can be helpful there, but that's the question. What comes out of the meeting? Where do we go from here? President Trump has been very clear on nuclear weapons. He's been talking and writing about it now for over 30 years is his concern. You know, I've been to Russia, to the sites a number of years ago with other senators to look where they were using the efforts to eliminate nuclear weapons. But I think in recent years, Russia has been not having to do much, as the United States has done more to eliminate nuclear weapons. And we've seen this repeatedly now in the Russian violation of their obligation with certainly the intermediate nuclear weapons, those that can hit Europe.
Finally, a lot of people today are using today to look back at President Trump's predecessors and their treatment of Russia. We're reminded of this Hillary Clinton moment. Watch. Okay, well, obviously, this was the famous reset button moment. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, to President Barack Obama. President Trump isn't the first leader to begin with niceties. How do you look at this president and how he has treated Russia compared to his predecessors?
Well, I think if you go back to Teddy Roosevelt's speak softly and carry a big stick, President Trump has carried a big stick against Russia with the sanctions, with arming Ukraine, with item after item, with the additional funding, with getting NATO to put another additional $14 billion into military funding. The Trump administration, I think, has been superb in terms of the actions taken against Russia, and I think we need to go further if there is any evidence of meddling in the elections in 2018.
Great to get your perspective this morning in reaction to all that. Senator John Barrasso, thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.